Okay, I've got something special today. It's the realistic TRC 454 base station. This is a late 70s, early 80s telephone style base station. It's a beast. If you're familiar with the size of this, then you get a sense of how large this thing is. Also weighs about 10 pounds because the transformer is built in. This just works on your power household supply. No power supply needed. You just plug it into 120 volts and you're good to go. That's what I love about the old console radios. I wish they would still make that. Now, I got this on eBay for, $50 or so. And when you do that, you're risking that this thing might not work at all. I've been looking for one for a long time, but I really never wanted to pay what people were asking, especially since they tend to be in pretty bad shape and they want over $100 for them, 150 and up. And they're typically in pretty bad shape, and I just can't justify that. I found this one for $50, buy it now, and I thought, this looks like it's in pretty good shape, and it's actually in better condition than I thought it would be. So I bought it, and I didn't expect it to work because you know how it works on eBay. Tested, not tested, don't know if it works. I don't have the stuff to test it. I don't know anything about these, so you never know what you're going to get. It does transmit, it does receive. Now you can see that it is showing channel 9 right now, and how this works is you have an up-down button to switch channels, and they work, which really does surprise me. There are things that don't work, though. Because I don't have the meters active, not only do they not light up, but they're not functional. And so something needs to be changed in here. I need to take it apart. I'm going to make a video of what I'm doing, showing how I fix this. The buttons need to be cleaned up. There's a switch for both speakers, meaning the built-in speaker and also the phone speaker. So it has an auto setting and a both. If you have it on both, it's supposed to give you sound out of the handset and the speaker. You switch it to auto, it's supposed to know that you picked up the handset and only give you sound out of this. However, right now, the switch doesn't do anything. I suspect it's just dirty contacts, not a big deal. It's got an in and out blanker that does function. Delta tune, I'm not sure how this is supposed to work. I assume you can go up or down and use these buttons to balance it, but I'm going to need to find a manual online to discover how this thing is supposed to work. It's got a monitor. I'm not sure what monitor is supposed to mean, to be honest with you. Then CB and PA. I don't know if monitor means it's just not going to transmit, but CB and PA mode. Instant channel 9. Over here we have SWR, squelch, RF gain and volume, and these work. The SWR and calibration meter, again, the windows are not working. I'm not getting anything on these meters, so that's the big thing I have to fix. When I transmit, the on-air light does come on, so you're going to get a green light that says on-air, and below that is a modulation light that should flicker with your modulation, so that should turn red when I transmit. It doesn't. So most of what's going on over here doesn't work, but the radio does transmit and receive. First thing I did was put it onto a power meter and discovered that it's got very low output. I don't know yet if that's intentional until I get inside. This should have pretty close to a 4-watt dead key, and it doesn't. But the modulation is very strong. I hooked it up to my amplifier, which is a very low feed amp. It chokes if you give it more than a watt or two. And so I did not have high expectations. I hooked this up to the amp, and as far as I can tell, it's okay on the amp, which means I can drive about 150 watts out of the amp from this 1.2 watts, 1.5 watts. I need to double check that with the guys in the neighborhood to let me know if it sounds the way I think it sounds. But if the audio is clean, then this thing runs at a low enough power that I can run it through an amp. And there's a good chance that someone got inside here and deliberately did turn down the finals so that they could run it through an amp. So we'll see what's going on with that. I'm going to open up and make a video about troubleshooting it, checking out, see what's going on in there. And once that's established, I'll make another video about the actual repairs that I do on this thing and take you step by step through what I did. A couple scratches. This is stuff that I'm an expert at taking care of. Nothing deep enough here that I can't just buff this all out. What's really nice is these placards were aluminum, brushed aluminum, and then they were painted over, and they tend to get scratched, and I can't find a scratch on this, which means I would have paid a lot more for this if they were asking for it, just based on that alone. They basically showed it in the eBay pics as just very dusty. It was hard to say if this was scratched or not. And, you know, I'd live with it, but it's great. I don't have to live with it. This thing's going to look brand new once I get it going. It's still got the call sign, which tells me this is probably late 70s. I really need to look it up. I could have done that before this video, but I do want to do sort of a little montage of information about this radio before I get into taking it apart. This was someone's call sign, license number at some point. I love this. I've always wanted to buy a radio that still had that on there. It gives a little bit of history, and I get a sense of that, you know, I've inherited that number, that call sign. Unfortunately, this particular call sign is horrible. KARG 0872. There's just no way I'm going to pronounce that on air. These stickers will come off. They're going to go away, but I want to preserve that this is the call sign for posterity, so I'll probably put a label on the bottom of it saying that that's the call sign that it had at the time. And I'm going to get this working as my regular everyday AM local and DX radio. I'm going to be making more videos on this. I'm just excited to get it. I wanted to make sort of an announcement about it because I've waited a long time to get one. I just never really thought I was going to buy one. It was just the right time at the right price. Give you a little sense of how this works. Pick up the handset, push the button. I shouldn't do that because I don't have a dummy load on there, but you probably saw the green light came on. It does work. It just needs a little bit of tuning and maybe some new light bulbs, and I got to find out what's wrong with those meters. They don't respond to anything. So I hope you can get as excited as I am about this thing, and I'm going to make a video taking it apart, showing everything that's wrong with it. We'll take a look at the board, see if there was a peak and tune done on it. I'm really curious to see if somebody has already detuned it. In other words, reduce the output power specifically for an amplifier, which is what I intend to do because it seems to work on an amp. Really neat radios. Like I said, I've wanted one for a while. My dream radio is a GTL 2000 by Cobra. It's the all brushed aluminum radio. I'll probably eventually get one, but people want a lot of money for those right now. As CB people die off in the next 5 or 6 years, which most are going to, the prices will come down and I'll pick one up. Right now they're hot items because there's retired people who are reliving their glory days in the 70s with those radios. So second to the GTL 2000 is this. This is the one I wanted. I love the idea of the handset. And to give you some sort of an idea of why this exists, back in the day there were a couple organizations that monitored CB Channel 9 before cell phones. And what people would do is they would volunteer time to monitor Channel 9 in case anybody on the road needed help, auto assistance, out of fuel, things like that. The name of one of those organizations was React International, which is still technically around, but not. They're dysfunctional. They have been for 10 years, but I think they still have a broken website up. There was another one called Alert, A-L-E-R-T, and Alert sent its members metal badges, law enforcement style badges that said Alert and their member number on them. And I have found those badges on eBay, and again, they're asking too much for them. I'm not paying $60 for that. But if I can get a good deal on one of those badges, I'd like to have one because the internet has no information whatsoever about that organization. I can't find anything. I only know they existed. But that is a type of organization that would have used this because what they're doing is they're just actively monitoring, which is why I think there's a monitor button. They're just actively monitoring Channel 9 for any emergency radio traffic, and then they pick up the phone and they have a conversation. They're holding the phone with one hand, they're writing down information with the other hand. That's the environment that this was intended for. You could also make an argument that this is intended for maybe a truck depot dispatch kind of a thing, or a business that was using PA and CB, and they just have somebody pick up the phone and make an announcement. That too. But I really feel that because of the front-facing dials and on-air and modulation being organized the way it is, the intention was for someone to sit at a desk for a long period of time and stare at the console. Because if it was just something you'd use in sort of like a business, say a garage or something like that, the orientation of this doesn't seem to make sense. You'd be standing over it. You wouldn't need these to be front-facing. So I really feel like this had Alert and React organizations in mind as the ideal radio to just sit for hours, stare at this, pick up the phone, very easy to use, and do what they did. So I hope that's something. I'm trying to put out videos more often, trying to get more subscribers, more likes, and more traffic, because although I have a lot of subscribers, people don't tend to watch the videos all the way through. So I'm experimenting with that sweet spot for what you guys are willing to sit through. If you have any comments about this, if you know anything about Alert, put that in the comments, because it's killing me. I really want to know more about that organization. It came and went in a very short period of time. It was outlived by React International, which is also now dead. So, yeah, really cool radio, whether you're into amateur radio or CB or both. This is just the coolest thing. So we're going to get everything working, lit up, and that's going to be the next video. Please subscribe for that so that you know when this video comes out. The next step when I take it apart. It'll be a 3-part series. It'll be this video, taking it apart, and then finally putting it back together and putting it into service. So if you're interested in that, please do all the things that YouTube wants you to do, and I will see you next time.